This segment is brought to you by Cypress Stop, home of the happy customer.
All right, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're going to check in at Terrebonne Parish and with the Sheriff's Office. And for that, we have First Lieutenant Blake Tabor, who is with the Sheriff's Office. And this next case, it's a case, but also kind of moves into mental health space as well. And I know that's something the police officers really have to deal with, is the public, mental health. A lot of times you'll see people in mental health crisis, and that's where you guys are called to an event. A lot of times you go to a family and you're really not sure, you're trying to protect the family, but then the family's also on the side of the perp a lot of times. So this one's kind of in that range, but we want to talk about the overall picture a little later. But why don't you tell us about this story?
Sure, yeah. So on May 5th, around 7 p.m., our patrol division was called to an address in the 100 block of Horseshoe Road in response to a disturbance with a knife. Of course, anytime we get information leading to that, you know what happens. It's a quick, elevated response. Of course, our officers on alert. We're dispatching more than one officer, and that was very much the same in this case. So once officers arrived there, they found 4 people in the front yard of that particular residence and noticed a male subject who appeared to be bleeding from an injury to his neck. So again, you take the initial information, and now we have evidence, clear evidence of a disturbance taking place. So it was very heightened at this point. So obviously deputies quickly intervened and were able to identify the person bleeding as a Tony Joseph Tabor. You see him photographed here. Ultimately, the additional people in the yard were identified as relatives of Mr. Tabor. So as the investigation continued, our deputies learned that Mr. Tabor had been recently released from prison, and during the course of that time living in the residence with family members, he continued to threaten them, physically threaten them, and also commit some acts of violence, which again, is never a good thing against family members. So ultimately, we took him into custody, got him medical treatment, which appeared to be minor injuries, and ultimately he was arrested on 3 counts of domestic abuse battery and 5 counts of domestic abuse aggravated assault for threatening family members with that exact same knife. The understanding that we were told was that he threatened multiple family members with that knife before turning the knife on himself, causing the injury to his neck. So ultimately, at the time of this, he was still being jailed at the Terrebonne Parish Criminal Justice Complex on a no bond by local judges, which we're very happy about.
Which brings us to where we're talking about mental health. So he gets out of prison, goes back to his home. I would imagine that's probably his family's home, probably older people.
Sure.
And now he's starting to dominate people inside there, but they don't want to turn him in, right? I mean, he's a family member. They want to try and get him help. But now you have to live with having someone who's also having a mental health crisis in your family. It's tough. And then you guys come involved. And then, like I say, a lot of times family doesn't know which side to be on, which can really elevate the danger level for
Absolutely. And look, this particular case, when we post these on Facebook, is much like any others. Normally you will have people that come to the aid of the suspect, maybe come to the aid of the victims. And of course, this one was no different. It garnered a lot of interest over the course of the today, where, there was a lot of allegations of mental health concerns as it related to Mr. Tabor. We have a large problem with mental health in this community, just like we do in communities across the nation, right? This is a forever changing thing that is happening, and it's becoming more and more prevalent in our communities, and it's something that we have to deal with. And it's not only the mental health of Mr. Tabor, but that has direct ramifications against his family. Again, it's the same old song and dance. We have family members that do not want to turn in their loved one. They're just happy that they're out of prison, or whatever the case may be, but at what cost? Right? At what cost, at what physical damage to the family do we allow this to go on? Mm-hmm. And I'm just glad at this point that we were able to intervene and bring some sort of peaceful solution so far.
Drug abuse, it plays a role in these as well. And I don't know about this particular case, but a lot of times you see people doing drugs that lead to mental health. Sometimes mental health leads to drug abuse. You guys are all trained on that to kind of figure out what's going on in a lot of things. So y'all have a lot of different seminars, things. You'll go to for awareness, right?
So, this past week, I attended some CIT training that was done here in Houma by the South Central Louisiana Human Services Authority here, who was a local chapter, and it was tremendous training. This is training that all police officers should be mandated to go through. It's very eye-opening when you're able to see and hear people that are suffering from addiction give their testimony to police officers. Not only is that extremely embarrassing for that person, but the amount of bravery that they have to display to come forward with that. It's other resources such as the Assisi Bridge House that's located on Bull Run Road, where it's a treatment center for those suffering from addiction with drugs. We were able to meet with those people and they gave their testimony. And a lot of this comes from abuse as a young person. And most oftentimes it's bad choices through childhood, but everyone has a story, and it's important that we get to the root of the problem and help each person independently. We can't throw a fishing net and help everyone. Right. We have to attack this on a case-by-case basis.
Sure. And you guys can't come in with guns blazing either, right? I mean, absolutely. It's got to be part of the whole package, Yeah,
and look, for years it was something that we knew about, but wasn't at the forefront like it is today. Right. And it's time for us to look at that and make a change.
But, you guys all want to go home at the end of the day, too.
Absolutely. It's a very delicate process.
That makes it really, really tough. Well, man, I appreciate it, and hopefully the whole community can learn and grow from these things.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks. Blake Tabor with Terrebonne Parish Sheriffs. We'll be right back. More Bayou Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by St. Martin and Bourke. Know your rights.